Okay, hi. I thought I was recording and I wasn't. The camera cut out. Strong start. Here we are again. Okay, week 23, the final week for Gemini. Of course, we'll be coming back to Gemini when we do, after Aquarius, when we get into the air story and assessing all three air houses together. I feel like I need to do a tribute video just to the third house and Gemini, just because I haven't even been able to keep up with the photo diary yet. I'm still working. I've got to finish up Libra's photo diary. But if I'm going to do a tribute video to Gemini, then I've got to do one, and third house, then I've got to do one for all of them, right? So we'll get there. Right now, first off, since we're here, let's check in with where Mercury is, and you can see the overlap between Leo's tail and if we can get in there. I'm in Sky Safari right now. Okay, so we've got Dinabola, and we'll get the pronunciation of that, but that's just one name for that star anyway. But definitely in that constellation, right? And we've got Mercury. So there's like this overlap energy of Leo and Virgo, yes? But that's where Mercury is, with Mars still very much in Leo by that hind foot. Venus is over here in Virgo at her elbow, working its way towards Spica, or Spica, I believe. But leading the way for sure. Going to be there for a while, but you could see that the sun is way still back over here, of course, in Leo. And I want to say, it's blotting out its own name. Okay. So really right next to that Regulus, or Regulus, there's going to be somebody who pronounces it one way and somebody pronounces it another. So there's no point in splitting hairs over that. So triggers, instincts and triggers in Leo, loves and loyalties with Mars, as far as I'm concerned, still in Leo. But this mind, this imagination, I'm finding specifically to be, your problem-solving center. Now, in Gemini, Roshan Sylvia, the astrologer and tarot expert that I follow, at least on YouTube, I'm sure she exists in other places, but she made note of Gemini not being fond of writing, because there's so much information going through a Gemini mind, a true Gemini, pure Gemini mind, that writing it down is an agony, because it's going to change, the thoughts are going to change so much, right? And the opinion, everything's so mercurial, right? So changeable in a Mercury, in a Gemini mind, personality, if Gemini is predominant. So writing journalism shouldn't actually be a third house thing. Anything written, that should probably belong more to Mercury and Virgo, with the earth energy to ground it. So that is something that needs to be addressed. There's going to be people that know how wrong that is, that teach it anyway. And there are going to be a lot of people that just don't know, because I find a lot of people actually don't do observational astrology. They do by the book astrology. So whatever, just the same as in any religion, where dogma rules. So no, not gonna work with me. If I've took 26 years to take religion apart from growing up inside of it, I'm not gonna be afraid to get scientific about what is a science, which is astrology. So back over in Gemini, quiet land, I think, yeah, I don't think there's anything more to go through there, so I'm gonna shut that down for a second. But I want to come back to the camera. I'm going to to the phone, because I haven't had time to print some things up yet that are relevant to who's helping us, because we're in the week of third house concerns, future concerns, and who's helping you in it. So now I just wanted to check according to the calendar. I've had a couple of major things that needed to be told to me happen in this time. And let's see, I'm in my 10th house right now, and I am launching my biggest career of all, relaunching it. It's one that stayed with me. It's the one that's been driving everything since I was born, the drawing instruction, and I'm returning to it after taking 10 years to troubleshoot how I first taught it and to gain the rest of the knowledge that I needed outside of the discipline drawing, but also within it. But so I'm launching that within a week, and I've been noticed. That's why there aren't any readings up right now, because why they got minimal for a while, because I had to prioritize for that, and we had to manifest. We're in the 3rd house of manifestations. But in terms of, now we've got it on the calendar that Mercury is direct in Virgo as of tomorrow. I'm recording this, well, tomorrow being Thursday, I'm recording this on a Wednesday, but this might not publish until Thursday. In which case it's going, technically according to this, direct today, which matches pretty well. I would say definitely the midpoint right now. So either Wednesday or Thursday, we could say Mercury was direct. We've had Venus direct there for a while, which we've already known since about the 9th. And so what I found is in here, no, because Cancer, what do I want to say? Let's go back to, I just want to check, because I'm modifying, I'm going to forget where I put this page. But see, remember where I put these new pencil lines where the sun enters and exits each constellation? And Cancer is actually, it's in Cancer for much shorter than the 30 degrees, right? Which means that it affects the overlap in Leo between the constellation and the sign of Leo. And you know how I do that midpoint in each, I'll get the sheet out, but the midpoint where I say the middle 5 or 6 days of each constellation sign season, right? So if I'm saying between the season of Leo and the sun going through Leo, right? There's this overlap. Well, the overlap is actually greater by 2 or 3 or 4 days, right? So instead of 6 days, let's say there's like a 10-day, almost like a 9-10 day, probably 9, because that would be magical, right? There's like a 9-day, the window is much larger. And the same will be true for Gemini then, and Taurus. The window's larger, the overlap is larger. So the opportunity to focus on 5th house Leo things. I looked at a broader window in my diary for what actually got accomplished then. Now how did I, that doesn't go with that page. How do I do this? 64, 63, so I've done something with, oh good, a candle. Flame's gone out. 2 flames have gone out. Okay, hang on, and I'm gonna redo the, you can't even tell. Okay, we're not gonna worry. So, in this midpoint, I looked at, normally I would look at, let's say, from the 15th to the 20th, thereabouts, I was looking at productivity in 5th house. And what I did was I backed it up, let's say, even to the end of Lionsgate, right, the 12th. Yeah, so I looked at that window of what actually, is it true? Is what, or not that it's true, but what actually happened in those days that was particularly Leo, particularly 5th house that happened. And there was a lot of leadership taken. I did some polarizing things, but I was asked to do them by Kali. And I know because it was Kali kind of things that she got me to do. But a lot of the nitty-gritty creativity, a lot of the, sitting at the computer and just getting a ton of the nuts and bolts done, the product produced is what a big part of what happened as well. So now that we have Mercury direct in Virgo, it's going to be interesting to see the difference between verbal communication and written communication. If I'm right about Virgo being the writer. Now, I have a lot of, my North Node is in Virgo. I have about 36, 37 books to write. And I've got candle stuff all over me. But most of my professional guides are authors that were here that have passed over. And a disproportionate number of them are Virgo. Virgo birthdays. Not necessarily to have Leo suns, but Virgo birthdays, and then God only knows what their rising signs are, right? So Virgo auras at least. But so to get into the writing side of things and what that means to this process of moving through the houses. Anything else? We had Uranus. Now when Uranus went retro in Aries, my God, I had the biggest Twin Peaks collision yet. If you've been watching the last few videos, I've been on a Twin Peaks journey, and not because I set that up for myself, because I'm in twin energy of Gemini. My kid brought it, my son brought it to me, and wanted to watch it. And so there definitely so much that I found out about twins through this, in part looking for twin stuff because we're in Gemini 3rd house, but also things that happened. One thing I want to do, I need to pay tribute to Aaliyah. Today is the anniversary of Aaliyah's murder, shall we say. Absolutely. But what I want to do, I have things laid out in order. I need to go finish up my journal pages in terms of what happened in those weeks, do up my math, my adding up my numbers, where my accounts are at, okay? And that reminds me that there's a thing that I got into with looking at empty houses in your chart. Okay, so I've got these in order this way. I'm going to go back. Often what I do, see, I have the first one started. Okay, wherever it cut out. So I like the arc of looking at the month as a whole when I go to fill these in. Because I want to write things that are meaningful, that I know that I'll go back and be able to reference, because I actually do go back and reference regularly, and I want to be able to do that in the future. This is going to be like probably the most significant book about me that I could ever possibly, and likewise for you. But for me, the anchor is this column right here, the moods. This is where I'm actually keeping myself steady by being honest with myself about my feelings in the day, what I'm going through in a day. And that is actually, that alone, not alone, in the context of everything. Because if I were just to keep a mood diary, I don't think that that would keep me going enough, because it's not in the bigger picture, right? I would get too caught up. I would write and write and write and write about my feelings because it's contained, because I have to prioritize what to fit in this little box about my moods, right? And then I have to look at how it fit in with performance, right? And keeping track of myself, and keeping track of things that need doing, and keeping track of money, all of that. But really just doing that, absolutely. So I'll go back through those. So we're going to come up to future thoughts for this house, because what I did do, what do I want to get into? What I want to do before I get into that is the thing that it made me think of with empty houses. Okay, let me just feel like, but I would say absolutely keeping this book unbound while working on it is key. If this thing were bound while I'm trying to fill it in, I'd be very frustrated by having to flip back and forth, back and forth. I really find that it's the best. I'm going to do this for all versions of this year from here, because there are going to be about 4 or 5, well, there'll probably be a dozen versions of it in the end, but to be able to pull multiple pages out at once just to reference things makes a huge difference. But I'm just going to come up close to the camera so that you can see better what I mean, okay? But I got into looking into empty houses. Now we have 2 house systems, right? We have the whole house, which I find is actually dominant, leading the energy, and then I follow it with the, just because that's how it would work anyway. The whole house system is always going to lead the way, except with the smaller houses, then they kind of catch up and get ahead in an uneven house system. But do you see how I don't have planets in my whole houses, my whole second, my whole third, which overlap, right, with second and third, like whole house first, this would be, yes, okay, I gotta see it clearly. First, second, third, but then in whole house first, I have one planet, right? So what I did was I optimized. I looked into, now this is where East and West disagree, because I found Vedic astrologers that are Indian who will say, yes, no, it's a problem not to have planets in a house because you don't have anybody helping you in that house. Now, if there are planets that aspect that house, then they are helping it, right? But in the West, they'll say, oh, no, it's good. It means you don't have to pay as much attention to those houses if they don't have planets in them, right? You're going to be easier with them. Well, could you get more opposing than that in opinions? So I just looked at what my life has been according to how it's been playing out, according to how that matches or correlates to what either of them say, either camp says. Also taking into the fact that, okay, so I have the overlap here of my fifth. Now my fifth in Regio Ibn Ezra is empty, right? Up here I have my fifth, and it has 2 planets in it in Pisces, right? Okay, so it's kind of like a mix, right? It's not as simple as, and here my third in Capricorn, whole house, my third over here has, now they wouldn't necessarily count South Node. This doesn't count as a stellium, okay? A stellium would be 3 or 4 planets or more in one house or one sign. But because the South Node isn't a physical body, they don't count it. And so, no, some don't, some do. I'm not going to count it as a stellium. Maybe an unofficial stellium. I'm going to look at it as but what's more interesting is the Mercury conjunct with the South Node. But also look how much closer my South Node is to my moon, right? And what it means for a moon and a South Node to be close together. Let me pause. I'm getting into full Jupiter and Gemini mode here, right? See, I've got Jupiter right next to Lilith, and we need to do a much better job of embracing Lilith's energy, because Lilith, of course, African prophetesses, stop looking at Lilith in the context of what the Abrahamic religions pin her down as, because it was a smear campaign to start with. So they don't get to say anything about who Lilith is, because everything that they did with Lilith, and this includes Babylonia, this includes Sumer, this includes, because we've got the influence from Africa that way predates through the oracles at Delphi, predates the oracles at Delphi, but they are the oracles at Delphi. They are the snake. They are the ones that were consulted. So we have enough evidence, research, if we go digging, which is what I did. So this is one thing that I got that YouTuber to shut down her comment section, because I pointed some of these things out and she thought I was all in my ego. And I mean, well, anyway. Empty houses, okay? See how my Leo constellation is empty. I have planets here and here, but I don't have any planets in Leo. That affects my 10th house in whole house system, okay? Now, when we get into the overlap, then there are planets affecting, right? But, so what I did, and then I've got an 11th in Ezra Regio that's empty, okay? What I did was I broke it down. Did I break it down over here? Yeah, I did. Okay, so I look at where my biggest problems would be, and is it true? So my second house in either system doesn't have any planets. There's my second house whole and my second house Ezra Regio, okay? So I put that as my biggest problem, second house, and that is true. That is so true. Okay, that's been the theme of my life. Not because I don't have skills, but because I have a lot of them. But I have had so many interferences. I had a parent who did not want me to have financial independence. Okay, and then second to that, second to the second house being my first biggest problem, first and 10th come next because they only have one planet affecting them in one system, okay? Then 5th and 11th, and then my third. Third actually in only the one system having those three, yeah? But in the other, in Capricorn, nothing, right? Although it does have Saturn opposing, which I think is, for me, is helpful. It gives you something to work with, okay? But again, the biggest win is finding out that you have astrological solutions to things, not just psychological and behavioral, right? It's not how to use astrology to help you behaviorally modify yourself or psychologically modify. It's to say, no, it's astrological. Now figure out how to optimize it. Do the math of the chart, do the configuring of the chart, and figure out who's helping what in what way, and apply it. That's it. Accept and apply. It's not psychological. It's not behavioral. You don't have to blame yourself. You just have to know that it exists and somebody kept it from you. Namely, the person who put us here. Not parents, I mean God. Okay, so, but in terms of identifying also, my 4th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 12th houses are the least of my problems. They have stuff going on in them. They have where I'm higher functioning, right? We're talking about blind spots. So for me, the Vedic comes closer by saying that, yeah, no, an empty house is a problem house. But what do you do with the problem? You figure out how to solve it. But in terms of the West, anybody that's saying an empty house is an easy time is just helping you create a blind spot you never needed to have, because it was bad enough not knowing your astrology in the first place. So, since third house is all about what we know, that seemed like it needed to be dealt with. That's what they led me into. I just got through that this morning. So I try to follow little breadcrumbs and go down rabbit holes as they come to me, because that's what they get me to do. If it means I've got to put other things on hold, like I have right now, I have put work on producing and finishing up my drawing stuff, just because I know I need to stay on top of this. If we drop one ball to keep another ball going, or to put another ball in play, then we're not further ahead. So this mattered. Okay, so then let me just get those pages out of the way, because that's just me finishing up the housework, so to speak, of the journal itself and the cares and concerns. I started breaking down. I'm gonna finish this up this week. Obviously, it's not complete here, but I started getting my thoughts organized as far as I could. There's already enough to talk about in this video as it is, but I do need to get into the twins. If we bring this back, right, the evidence that my family, my relatives that are the missionaries, that were the missionaries in Nigeria for years, and especially while I was a child and a teenager, these are they're the family members I also stayed with when I was going back and forth between Winnipeg and Prince Edward Island. Okay, so the people targeted, I know the camera cut out, so I'm just recapping. The Yoruba, this book from Sudan Interior, Sudan Interior Missions, okay, that's who my family were with. You can see it down here. They targeted and Sudan goes in and they pave the way. If you get into Yves Anglay's Canada and Africa and any of his journalism work, he does have several pages, or at least a couple pages, on Sudan Interior Mission. Their role with the multinationals, they go in and they create a situation, a culture in African communities, right? And then then the multinational mining and whatever else power companies come in, right, and basically just continue to devastate. So there is a direct relationship between Sudan Interior Mission and the multinationals because it's Freemasonic. One of the main writers for that wrote books like these, like I've gone over it, I have it right here. I went back through, okay. See, this is back from my June photo diary. Here's some of the research that I did on Sudan Interior Mission in Nigeria. Okay, and their publications. And one of their main writers is Tyra Banks' mom, Carolyn London. Okay, and she's very, everything about her, when you go to her stuff, it's all very Freemasonic. Okay, and openly so. Openly so, but that's who does this. Again, back to Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks and I love it. It's so therapeutic, and at the same time, it's openly Masonic. And the only thing that is a total bone of contention, apart from everything, but the fact that they actually get it to be a First Nations thing about the Black Lodge and the White Lodge, and it's like, no, Black Lodge is not First Nations. It's not, that's not a spiritual First Nations thing. Nice try, but then that's what they do, right? Black Lodge, in order to be a member of the Black Lodge, you have to be a member of the Orange Lodge. Not only a member, but you have to be a master of the Orange Lodge. And so then we go back to all my work on Orange Lodge, the Orange Order of Canada, blah, blah, blah. This is one of my photos of my family member that she gave me this, right? And she and her husband, okay? I have more photos of them. I just didn't get them in my diary yet. Okay, and then there are pages from publications about their work there. Here they are. She and her husband in this book about Sudan Interior Mission's work over in Nigeria. And so, what is amazing, this story in particular is about twins. The Yoruba people, of all the people of the earth, have the highest twin rate and multiple birth rate, naturally, of everybody. 5%, where everybody else is like 0.5%. So they have, if we're getting into the whole twin thing of Gemini, they have it to such an extent that they have, now they see the twins as one soul shared between two bodies. They take it very seriously. Let me see if I can get what is really heinous about this book that I didn't even realize beyond the normal heinousness of it at the time. And this is not any slight to Jesus. Jesus would be as pissed off. He'll be the first guy to be pissed off about this. Well, maybe not the first, but no, why not? If he's really God, then he'd be the first to be pissed off. And pissed off is completely understating it, of course. To take the Yoruba tradition of twins, the recognition of twin energy, the sacredness of twins, they actually have in the Orisha the helpers of God. They're not gods and goddesses, they are helpers of a singular God, and they did all the creating on earth as per his directions. There are twins in that count, and there are dolls made for human twins when they're born. Especially if one should die, then a doll is made for the twin that has survived, so that they can carry that doll and they carry the energy of their lost twin, so that they're more likely to survive, and that they have a sense of how to stay connected to the energy of the twin. It's all incredibly deeply moving. But to target the culture, to target the huge spiritual root of twin energy, and to target it in this assault to convert, right? I don't know, there are all kinds of evil, but this adds a whole other layer. This is a knowing layer of evil, to take that and to turn it against its own people, or to even try to dare and to do it in Jesus' name. And people will do it what they think. I know my family think they have the best intentions. But this is a level of magic, spiritual magic. You don't go and you don't fuck with this unknowingly. So, Oshun is the mother of the original twins. I'll go back in May. She was coming through strong through me. She, the yellow, color yellow, okay, gold yellow. And I was looking up Left Eye from TLC or she came on my radar because it was her time. And then in the search results for her, Aaliyah came up. You can see a little bit of Aaliyah down there in the corner. I put her name there because I was like, okay, August is Aaliyah's time. Today is the anniversary of Aaliyah's murder. And so Aaliyah in Queen of the Damned had a problem with, it's the last thing she did, Anne Rice's Queen of the Damned, where she's the vampire queen, right? Which is like, is it just another assault on the African prophetesses, right? Because the Queen of the Damned, Akashic records much, but Akasha now, there are twin witches. I believe they're supposed to be redheaded because all of the vampires start having nightmares about redheaded twins in Queen of the Damned. But she is out to kill the twins. So I've been getting messages from Aaliyah through other readings. Her name pops up in Miss... you know how YouTube will do... what am I trying to say? The captions, right? And it mistypes, like it hears the word one way and types out another word that's sometimes even a non-word. Well, it heard a word in one of Victoria's readings and typed it out as Aaliyah. So that was just last week or the week before. And I was like, okay, Aaliyah, I know your day's coming. And so even that. Now, Oshun is the mother of the twins, the first Yoruba twins, and the first Yoruba twins were looked on as a curse by the people. And so she tried to get rid of them, basically, to remove the curse. And then she goes into a downward spiral. And if we look at this as their ancestral energies that are possibly very true human stories, there is that as well. But it's either Oya or Yemaya that take the twins and rescue them and raise them and look after them. So we've had... Where did I get into? Where's my Libra page? When we get into the colors of it, Yemoya, I don't have her on the page with Mat. But I have her in the pages that I haven't done yet for the photo diaries. But Yemoya, with the blue and the Libra energy. And then I was getting ideas that I was coming into... I'm trying to remember what it was that got me started on Oya. But today, as I'm looking through the twin stuff, and I'm thinking, before I knew that the twins were Oshun's twins, the first twins, I was looking up Oya because of storms. I was like, which Orisha goes with storms? Because we've been dealing so much with storms in Gemini, because Gemini is the storm, and then getting home and getting calm and getting clear, returning home after the storm. So the whole Wizard of Oz, Dorothy and the Twister thing, right? And there's no place like home, but you know. And so yeah, Oya is the Orisha of the winds, and like look for her in the spiraling winds. So again, things are coming together in such a way. And she looked after these twins. Let me get the image up. If I could plug my pin correctly into... First off, just a moment to honor Aaliyah. And there she is as Queen of the Damned. So let's just take that into account. Look at the white guy sinking his fangs into her, right? Lestat. I know a Lestat. I've had troubles with a Lestat. I did go to Anne's. Now, a thing in respect to Anne, Susan Shepherd, who I just found out passed, right, a couple of weeks ago, who did the Black Moon astrology cards, and I've ordered her Phoenix cards. Okay, she and her daughter love Anne Rice, so in respect to them, there's always more to find out. But here we go. Here we have in Yoruba, Ibeji. And I'm going to be saying it wrong, but I'll get there. I'll figure it out. Okay, so here they are. And one will wear red, and they're typically considered to be, one will be male, often one child will be male and one will be female. So that puts another spin on the whole twin thing, as opposed to the rest of the world, primarily twin boys in the stories, right? I went to a Santeria church, santeriachurch.org, for some information, because Santeria is a version of the Yoruba religion as it came over to Brazil, etc. I found a WordPress website, Madam Sabi. Try and get there are some Yoruba triplets. This is from the blog post is from 7 years ago. And she is from Nigeria. And so she gives some good numbers, some down-home information, right, about twins in Yoruba. So here, I looked at, there's, the Gnostic Dread is a website that is problematic because he's Gnostic. However, see what happens is somebody else goes and puts Ibeji and then puts them both as masculine, from what I can tell. And that's not true. But here are some shots of depictions of Oya. And so I feel like that's the energy. It's either her or daughter, Yamoya, raised the twins after Oshun felt cursed by them, right? And then, of course, the curse becomes a blessing. Everybody changes their mind that twins are just... So there's just this huge lineage in Nigeria with the Yoruba people of twins. And, of course, this carries... Look at all this... And she helps people, the newly dead, cross over. So she's got the Kali, the Hecate energy, right? And so the least I can do is bring awareness to the very people, the Orisha, that my family did too much to go up against. And they didn't even know who they were going up against. There's a really neat Thalia Took. I hope that she's eventually publishing this as a deck, because I'd love to have it. She's got a goddess deck, oracle deck. But then there was Neptune and storms. I've got Neptune ruling my Mercury through Pisces, and I found stormy weather, really weird storms on Neptune. Neptune seems to have the weirdest storms, so there's a connection there as well. And I'm just going to pause so that you don't have to watch me scrolling through whatever random screenshots I found today. Hang on. I just want to give credit to astrosanhita.com. Let's see if I can. He's not happy with people referencing his work, but he's the one that gets it right about, because this he put a pop-up on it. It's gonna threaten me with jail for giving him credit, but he deserves it. That's all I'm doing. So he's the one that knows. This is the guy that knows that empty houses pose a problem. Okay, and he says he claims to have 3 generations of experience behind him, right, in his family, or through his teachers. Okay, I'll pause again. There's another aspect to Gemini, 3rd house, Mercury. I think I mentioned it in the last video about bisexuality, homosexuality. It's going to tie in with Aquarius as well. So let's say non-binary, non-cis, and I want to be sensitive, and at the same time I'm really, really not good with alphabet names, and so I'm going to screw up. So I just mean inclusivity, yes. I have a disproportionate number of gay spirit guardians, spirit guides. Men. And possibly what I'm trying to figure out is if some of them are bi and that's what they're trying to tell me, or they were closet trying to cope with it. And while looking up Michael Onkeen from Twin Peaks, I come across, now he apparently, somebody in the comments to this says that he totally dissociated himself from this film. But and this is where comments are just amazing. I love YouTube comment sections because you get so much information from people with actual life experience. I mean, you can get crap, it's the same as anywhere else, but mostly on YouTube I find it extremely wonderful. Apart from the fact that it's owned by Freemasonic Google, private intelligence agency interests. But there's something, coming across this, I need to point out that in the comments, somebody named DH left a comment talking about many married men were and still are in this situation. And I was like, yep, hello D.H. Lawrence. Not that that is D.H. Lawrence, but D.H. Lawrence is one of my main guides, which took me years and years to understand and come to grips with, that I actually had guides like that, okay? And I've been on a long DH explanation journey through this whole workbook series as well, but I've got a lot of other work tied to him. So to see somebody, and it's in multiple ways, that's no accident. So that's another, there's something about that needs to be brought into, especially when you look at the closet gay culture of Hollywood itself, which is like the least of, there's a much bigger problem in Hollywood than that. There's a Nazi problem, that it was always a propaganda thing anyway, but and then of course the pedo sadism, and how they use, the pedo sadists use the gay community, the LGBTQ plus, am I getting it right, community? They make martyrs, unwilling martyrs out of them to further the pedo agenda. And so there's something to do with that, though, because we're getting into how Zeus used Aquarius, Ganymede, right? Fell in love with Ganymede and used him and played him and made a servant of him, the cupbearer that is Aquarius. Okay, but there is this non-binary energy, and if we look at in Castor, the constellation, when we have those triple binary star system, yeah, in Castor, which is what Castor is, and looking at the chart, I got to go back and look at my planet placements as twins and triplets, and that's another thing, the triangles. Yes. Okay, that takes me back to Bizarre Love Triangle because I had the most wonderful moment yesterday.